What if you bought a front row ticket to see your favorite rock band, only to watch them completely implode on stage? From exploding egos to smashed instruments, drunken meltdowns to shocking confrontations with fans, the 1970s weren't just the golden age of rock. They were the decade when even legends fell apart in front of thousands. Tonight on Metal Icons, we're diving into the most chaotic, jaw-dropping, and downright catastrophic live performances that defined rock's darkest hours. You'll see Sid Vicious go missing on stage, Jim Morrison unravel before your eyes, and Roger Waters, well, let's just say he didn't exactly make friends with the audience. These are the concerts that became cautionary tales, scandals, and legendary disasters all rolled into one. Stay tuned till the end, because some of these stories are so shocking. Hit that subscribe button and ring the bell so you never miss a tale from the chaotic side of rock history. The Sex Pistols' American Nightmare, 1978. When the Sex Pistols embarked on their first American tour in 1978, nobody expected it would also be their last. The timing couldn't have been worse. Sid Vicious was publicly battling severe addiction issues. Johnny Rotten was at war with his bandmates, and their manager, Malcolm McLaren, made a decision that would seal the band's fate. Instead of booking them in punk-friendly cities, McLaren deliberately scheduled shows throughout America's Bible Belt, banking on controversy to generate publicity. According to drummer Paul Cook, the strategy backfired spectacularly. The band's presence in these conservative areas was far too controversial. Law enforcement posted sheriffs at every single venue. Hostile crowds hurled bottles and pig ears at the stage throughout their performances. The atmosphere was toxic, and it was grinding the band down night after night. By the time they reached their final stop at San Francisco's Winterland Ballroom, the Sex Pistols were completely defeated. Cook later admitted that everyone in the band was beaten down and desperate to finish the tour and escape. 5,000 fans showed up that night, but they were about to witness one of rock's most infamous implosions. Everything went wrong simultaneously. Guitarist Steve Jones was battling a cold while trying to perform. Sid Vicious wasn't playing a single note, and for much of the show, his bass wasn't even plugged in. Jones and Cook just wanted to get through the set, but Jones kept experiencing technical failures. Guitar strings snapped repeatedly throughout the performance. His equipment kept cutting out at the worst possible moments. Then Johnny Rotten's voice cracked under the strain. As the final song ended, Rotten turned to face the 5,000 people in attendance and delivered a line that would become legendary. "Ever get the feeling you've been cheated? Good night." He walked off the stage, and that was it. 4 days later, the Sex Pistols officially broke up. Jim Morrison's final disaster, 1970.
Know that it would be untrue. Know that I would be a liar.
Jim Morrison's death in 1971, at just 27 years old, remains one of rock's greatest tragedies. But perhaps equally heartbreaking was his final performance with the Doors in 1970 at a warehouse venue in New Orleans. This show would go down as one of the worst performances of Morrison's entire career. The problems started midway through the set. An intoxicated Morrison was struggling badly to remember lyrics to songs he had performed hundreds of times. He attempted to make jokes about his memory lapses, but the crowd wasn't laughing. They had come to see a rock god, and instead, they were watching him unravel. The tension reached its breaking point during their signature song, "Light My Fire." According to people who were there, Morrison was so unsteady that he had to hang onto his microphone stand throughout the entire song just to keep himself balanced. When the instrumental solo came, Morrison sat down on the drum riser, needing a break. The problem was that he didn't get back up when it was time to sing again. Drummer John Densmore tried to get Morrison's attention by giving him a light kick. This turned out to be a terrible mistake. The kick enraged Morrison, who immediately grabbed the microphone stand, destroyed it, and stormed off stage. This wasn't the first time Morrison had displayed erratic behavior on stage, but this time, his bandmates had reached their limit. The Doors broke up shortly after that New Orleans disaster. Just 7 months later, in July 1971, Jim Morrison was dead. Roger Waters spits in a fan's face. 1,977.
Fly high, you're never gonna die. Gonna make it if you try.
In July 1977, Pink Floyd performed at Montreal's Olympic Stadium in front of a massive crowd. When I say massive, I mean somewhere between 80,000 and 100,000 people showed up that night. But this historic show would become infamous for all the wrong reasons. Before Pink Floyd even started playing, a group of instigators, positioned at the front of the stage, began heckling and booing the band. These people had paid for premium front row seats specifically to ridicule Pink Floyd, which made absolutely no sense. Once the show began, things escalated quickly. The troublemakers started throwing firecrackers directly at the stage. This would test any musician's patience, and Roger Waters was no exception. When his patience finally snapped, Waters launched into an expletive-filled rant against the perpetrators. For several tense moments, it looked like Waters might actually walk off stage and end the show. To the band's credit, they kept playing. A short time later, a roadie managed to catch one of the people reportedly throwing firecrackers and brought him up onto the stage. What happened next shocked everyone in attendance. Roger Waters walked over and spat directly in the man's face. The hostile environment didn't calm down after this incident. Pink Floyd performed the rest of their set on edge, with tension crackling through the entire stadium. However, there was an unexpected silver lining to this nightmare. The trauma of performing for Montreal's hostile crowd later served as direct inspiration for certain aspects of Pink Floyd's masterpiece album, The Wall. Eric Clapton's racist tirade, 1,976.
She's wondering what clothes to wear.
Eric Clapton is universally recognized as one of the greatest guitarists in rock history. Despite decades of accolades, one performance in August 1976 became a permanent stain on his career and legacy. Clapton was performing at the Odeon in Birmingham, England. What was supposed to be an evening of exceptional music and positive energy took a disturbing turn into something far uglier. According to multiple reports, an intoxicated Clapton launched into an unprompted, extended racist rant about immigrants in the United Kingdom. The performance wasn't recorded, so the specific details of exactly what Clapton said depend on accounts from people who were present. According to David Wakeling of the English Beat, Clapton went on a tirade claiming England would become what he called a colony within 10 years. He urged so-called foreigners to leave the country while unleashing multiple racial slurs. Wakeling described how the crowd seemed shell-shocked by what they were hearing. He later told Rolling Stone that as Clapton kept talking, the audience initially wondered if this was some kind of joke. Then it became obvious it wasn't. A murmur started spreading throughout the crowd that grew louder as Clapton continued his rant. Eric Clapton has never denied making these comments. The incident remains one of the most shameful moments in rock history. Van Morrison's stage fright walkout, 1,979.
How about leaving me behind?
Van Morrison has been a fixture in rock and roll for decades, achieving remarkable success throughout his career. Despite being a seasoned industry veteran, Morrison was known for experiencing significant stage fright. In 1976, during the band's farewell concert in San Francisco, Morrison's stage fright nearly prevented him from performing altogether. His manager literally had to physically shove him onto the stage. Fortunately, that performance went smoothly once he was out there. The same cannot be said for a New York concert in September 1979. According to Stephen Davis from New Age magazine, who attended the show, Van Morrison performed exactly 4 songs before abruptly leaving the stage. The audience sat in bewilderment, having no idea what had just happened or why their evening had ended so prematurely. This became something of a pattern with Morrison. Concert-goers buying tickets to see him never knew whether they would experience a sensational performance or witness him storm off the stage mid-show. Keith Moon passes out twice. 1973. In November 1973, The Who arrived at San Francisco's Cow Palace during their American tour. The venue was packed with fans eager to see one of rock's biggest bands, featuring the notorious Keith Moon, whose onstage antics were legendary throughout the music world. That evening became one of Moon's most infamous performances, but for all the wrong reasons. The details about what Moon consumed before the show remain unclear, but the general consensus is that he took some form of powerful tranquilizer, possibly elephant tranquilizer. By the time he took the stage, Moon was in terrible shape. Halfway through a song, Moon simply stopped playing and passed out, collapsing backward onto the stage. He was carried backstage where he received a cortisone shot. Moon insisted on continuing the show, so he went back out to his drum kit. Then, the exact same thing happened again. He passed out a second time. It was a complete train wreck of a performance that forced the band to desperately search for someone who could fill in on drums. The only person who probably enjoyed himself that night was Scott Halpin, a fan from the audience who was asked if he could play drums. He could, and he went on stage to help The Who finish their set. Grace, Slick's Nazi Salute, Disaster, 1975. Jefferson Starship, which rose from the ashes of Jefferson Airplane, was a major force in 1970s rock. During their 1975 tour of Germany, Grace Slick fell ill and missed their Velden show. Yet Slick and the band decided to proceed with their concert in Hamburg the following night, a decision that proved disastrous. Before taking the stage, Slick drank heavily. When she walked out to perform, she immediately started berating the crowd. She insulted the German audience over World War II and gave Nazi salutes while infamously chanting, "Who won the war?" The concert was being filmed by a German music television show, but unsurprisingly, it never aired due to Slick's behavior. Slick later discussed the incident in Jeff Tamerkan's book, describing that night as being about making dumb, drunken decisions. She noted that audience members started walking out but kept returning, as if thinking she might do something even more outrageous and they didn't want to miss it. It became a freak show. Grace Slick left Jefferson Starship after this incident, though she would rejoin the band several years later. Peter Criss forgets his own song, 1979. While Gene Simmons and Paul Stanley are typically recognized as the leaders of Kiss, every band member contributed to their music. Different bandmates would often sing the songs they personally wrote, even if they weren't the primary frontmen. The popular ballad Beth from Kiss's 1976 album Destroyer was written and sung by drummer Peter Criss, also known as the Catman. During a show in 1979, Criss got the opportunity to step away from his drum kit and perform Beth for the audience. There was just one major problem. The Catman had reportedly been drinking heavily before the show. By the time he was supposed to perform Beth, he had completely forgotten the words to his own song. 1 year later, Peter Criss was no longer in Kiss. Whether he was fired or quit voluntarily depends on which band member you ask. Yoko Ono ruins Chuck Berry's performance, 1972. From Rollover Beethoven to Johnny B. Good, Chuck Berry's iconic music influenced generations of musicians. In 1972, Berry collaborated with former Beatle John Lennon and his wife Yoko Ono on The Mike Douglas Show. The performance held tremendous appeal because both Berry and Lennon were absolute icons in the music world. Ono was also a musician, but she possessed an eccentric vocal quality that didn't appeal to mainstream audiences at that time. The performance started strong as Lennon and Berry played Berry's classic song, Memphis, Tennessee. Then, everything went sideways when Ono decided to contribute her vocals. Her unconventional singing style was so jarring that a sound engineer turned down her vocals in the mix. Whether they made this decision because they recognized how discordant she sounded, or because they saw Chuck Berry's visible reaction, is unclear. Either way, it's fair to say Ono probably should have sat that particular performance out. The 1970s gave us some of the greatest music ever created, but these disasters remind us that even legends are human. These weren't just bad shows, they were turning points, endings, and moments of profound dysfunction that would shape rock history forever. Some of these artists recovered and went on to even greater success. Others never performed again. But every single one of these catastrophic nights proved that in rock and roll, the higher you fly, the harder you can fall.